Yes and no. It's a lot to swallow in one pill, digesting. The biggest concern I have is when they say no cost, and they're gonna take care of everything, and we're gonna continue to cut like we've been cutting. Is the city gonna keep the place up, or is Ken and Mike and Mike and them gonna do it? I really don't, y'all know, I fought with y'all hard for soccer, where y'all, I've gone over there, and anytime I can sneak away when I probably wasn't supposed to be over there, I'll just tell myself, I've been over there for you. I think all y'all will sit there and.
I wasn't gonna tell them, Wink. Yes,
I'm all
Wink
for
has been
y'all.
very helpful.
I've even brought my personal equipment out there. and
If it would require for us to cut it, we'll cut it. We will
I
purchase,
just,
we will purchase.
thinking
some
out
over and
loud,
cut
I
it.
just feel like as a city, we're gonna need some equipment. Again, I hate to keep saying it every time I look at you, but I just don't feel like we should put a group over there and tell them to take care of their fields. I don't think that's what y'all wanna see. I think if we put them over there, that the city should look at taking care of your whole 109 acres and what goes on in there and any tournaments that they might have. And, you know, to me, as long as I think your boys' Little League pod needs to be in, and then that second bigger set, Chris, to me, I'm calling it universal, where the boys can play on it and the girls can play on it now. I'm not so hung up on the youth, the adults playing over there. I'm not really worried about them right now. I think we got a place we can play with them, in my mind, a long term, and I'm jumping out there, but if it's enough room, I'm all for letting you grow up. But I'd like to see it on paper, and to me, this is the first time I've seen it, but whether they stay over the 10 acres, we come over there, I just like to see it on paper and make it, make sure it works. I'm pretty much in limbo. I think we need soccer for the children. Where we put it, I don't know. And I still say on that big piece of property, before we use all of it up, there should be a half an acre to an acre for a playground for everybody in this county to enjoy. Something similar to what we have back here, but on a much grander scale, that when every car passes by there, that whether you have a grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, girlfriend, I think, to me, that's just be the show place for Wetumpka to put a playground out there.
Well, Councilman Hammond, I think y'all had that in there. Didn't they have that in there between
It was
the boys' pod?
a lot of that stuff. I think the boys' pods were put in, Ken, and I think that soccer field was just, they went out there and drew a little square. And when they were gonna put tennis courts, not being ugly, I think they just put a little square down there and they wrote tennis courts in there. They actually didn't scale it out, and I think they just started putting basketball court and wrote it right there in a square. And I hadn't looked at I hadn't been privy to all this, but years ago when I saw it, that's what it appeared to me. But I just feel like
It was also discussed at some length. Certainly there would be safety provisions that would have to be made, but the possibility, Wink, of putting some type of playground in the center of the roundabout, the green space when you come in, that had been discussed. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, I don't know if it's big enough in there and safe enough for the children. That would be my biggest,
that was the back
especially
part.
if we're gonna have 900, 800, 900 baseball, softball players, really 1,100, 400, 500 soccer players, and everybody's going through there. All of a sudden, that's a buzz city,
I know that in the initial process, there was talks of maybe some type of bridges that could link parking to that space. I know that entails a lot. There was a lot of ideas and things thrown out that could make the best use of that space possible, because as of right now, it is just green space. And it could be developed with the right safety precautions, but certainly all that would be money and time.
Just anything we do though, keep in mind, parking is essential. The girls softball field that's there is now, as the parking that is there is sufficient other than 1 or 2 days out of the year right now, since the improvements we made. As we continue on, anything you build, you should have the parking there for what you're building. The restrooms there, we're very short on the restrooms. You can't use the restrooms, 1 or 2 people, some out in the public have said something. The restrooms that are there down at the girls' field cannot be used for anything but girls softball. Same way when you get to this soccer, it's gonna need to be elevated up to the, was it 173, 177? And those restrooms used there, but
Okay, well, if we can get, Mr. Jarvis, you to move forward with placing this, seeing what it's gonna take, and then give us some rough estimate of what we're talking about, and then get it to the point to where it's biddable, we can put it out there and see what a cost is, you know, on this project, if it's feasible for this city to do it. What has driven the programs in Wetumpka since many years ago on Hopeful Road, when the Wetumpka JCs went out there and built 2 ball fields, many years ago on leased property to start Dixie Youth and Babe Ruth Ball in the city. And then some years later, the city council picked it up and built the complex that's over there now, and then they've continued to add on to that. But we're going to have to address this boys' facility over here, because where they are has become so dilapidated, it's really a mess over there right now, and the lights, I think Wink had shared with me that we're spending $10,000 to $15,000 a year trying to keep the lights repaired. We don't want to go in there and put new lights in, because hopefully they can move on over to the complex at some point in time and get them over there. But we're going to have to look at it. Janice and I will go back and look at where we are financially and what we owe on what was put in. How much was it, Janice? $3.5 million was here. So we're paying on that. And so we need to get a price, Jarvis, of where we are in this, to see where we are, if we can absorb that to move forward with it. Now, we have a motion. Did I ever get a second?
Yes.
Had a motion, we got a second, we've had a bunch of discussion. Okay. All in favor?
Hold on, Mayor, while we're in the discussion, do you have any idea about how much it's gonna cost to have Mr. Jarvis to give us a price to do this?
I don't really know. One thing that's concerning me is when we build this next softball park, we need to be digging the dirt out of these areas where these soccer fields are going to go. In other words, I need to pull dirt off of the soccer field to build the pod up for baseball. Now that means, you know, it's one or the other. Now the concession stand still has to come up, but I've got to pull some dirt off of these areas. If we don't, we've got to truck it in at about 3 times the cost of getting it off of this site.
And you can truck it into a flood.
Oh, you can truck it in all day long, but you're gonna pay for it.
Ponds can go deeper too.
Do what?
Ponds can go deeper too.
Oh, sure.
And we've talked
Maybe
about,
4 feet deep.
we've talked about that today,
Just ask, gentleman down on highway there.
I can't keep my mouth shut. I want to ask one more question before we go any further. A little arrogant, everybody knows. I love what we got over there. You know I'm a little disappointed at some of the things we did. But said and be done, it's nice and we're growing with it. Some of the problems we got, we knew they were there, we addressed them, and we didn't correct them. When Mr. Jarvis draws this up, I mean, y'all are telling him to draw some things up. Being rude and arrogant, but I would love to talk to him an hour or two and give him an idea of some of the things or ideas that we have out there. I don't know where Mr. Jarvis, we've never sat down and talked other than